A single mother is suing the state of Oregon for rejecting her adoption application. She claims she was rejected due to her Christian beliefs. Oregon's Department of Human Services requirements for adoption are to, quote, respect, accept, and support the race, ethnicity, cultural identities, national origin, immigration status, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, disability, spiritual beliefs, and socioeconomic status of a child or young adult in the care or the custody of the department. The mother's legal counsel says, quote, Oregon's policy makes a sweeping claim that all persons who hold certain religious beliefs held by millions of Americans from diverse religious faiths, are categorically unfit to care for children. That's simply not true. Andy, if you'll allow me a moment to lay out two really important details of this case that kind of elucidate this a little bit. So here's what the lawsuit states. This is from National Review. According to the lawsuit, the state's handout materials include examples of behavior the state expects of prospective parents, including displaying symbols indicating an LGBTQ affirming environment, including the rainbow flag and a pink triangle, displaying pictures and posters of diverse people who are known to be LGBTQI2-S, and it goes on. And the email this woman sent regarding these policies was this: I don't know how many children there are out there under the age of 9 who fall into this category, meaning the trans category. And to me, it's kind of crazy that society is wanting kids to think about this stuff at such a young age. I think we should let them keep their innocence. So this may not even be an issue. I have no problem loving them and accepting them as they are. But I would not encourage them in this behavior. I believe God gives us our gender, sex. It's not something we choose. A pretty simple email.
Look, I think this all goes back to the failure of the Supreme Court to clarify the parameters of the right to religious liberty in the United States in the Masterpiece Cake Shop, which I feel like is now maybe close to a decade ago. So they had a chance there to clarify this. Instead, they cobbled together this watered-down procedural decision, which was really about how much process do you give people who raise these claims, and was the bureaucracy too hostile in the hearing, instead of coming out and saying, people have freedom of conscience in this country. People have liberty. And in the meantime, what happens is the progressive bureaucracies turn their departments and everyone their department contracts with into little progressive indoctrination centers. And the point is to squeeze and punish people for their religious beliefs. And we've seen it in the realm of adoption. Now we're seeing it here. And we'll continue to see it unless the court is going to be courageous and say this is what your First Amendment rights are.
And isn't it children I'll go to you on this. The children in Oregon are used as pawns in all of this. She wanted to adopt kids under 9. It is so hard for a 9-year-old in this country to get adopted, and she wanted to adopt 2 of them. She said it was a calling from God. Those children are the ones that are suffering, not being placed in a good home.
Right. This absolutely harms these children. And I think it's worse than just not allowing religious liberty. Right. We're talking about Christians being allowed to adopt or not.
Right.
Christians have thousands of years of experience of taking care of some of the most suffering children on earth. They're very good at taking care of children, and we're saying that they should not be allowed because they believe that sex is a biological reality and that it's good to encourage a healthy approach to one's sex, such as that you should not cut off healthy body parts for no reason, or that when you're a child. And then we're privileging people who actually do have some of these brand new, very fresh, and very dangerous ideas about sexualizing children or doing harm to them. And so it's actually it's much worse than just denying religious liberty.
Emily, and if you'll allow me to put this in a broader context for a moment, we are just about a week out from 6 Christians being slaughtered and losing their lives to a transgender shooter. And this question I saw over the weekend from the Daily Wire: has the White House even said the word Christian once since the Nashville shooting? We had our brain room here at Fox News dig in. We cannot find a single record, 0, of any administration official in the White House using the word Christian last week after an attack on Christians. But here's what they did find time for. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre. She said this year's Trans Day of Visibility comes in the midst of a historic wave of attacks on transgender kids. How dare she use the word attack on a week when 6 Christians were attacked? 0 times was the word Christian used.
It is such a travesty, eclipsed only by the travesty of those 6 lives taken. this Oregon policy, it's an ideological litmus test. Yeah, exactly. If you have the right sexual view, you can adopt anyone you want. You're Christian? No. And it's enforced not even consistently. So, for example, if a kid's vegan, you can be placed with a family that hunts. If a family is Jewish, you can be placed a family with a child who has Hindu beliefs, for example. It is inconsistently applied, only negatively affecting Christian adoptees or would-be adoptees. And you're absolutely right. You know how many foster kids touch the Oregon system? 8,000. 8,000. Shouldn't that be the number that we focus on? And here is a mother who, after losing her husband, the father of her children, still has room in her heart and room in her home for 2 more. And yet Oregon says because of her faith, that's why she can't adopt these 2 children in need. A faith that is based 100% on love. And I just think about Matthew, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name. I am there in the midst of them, because 1 can chase 1,000 and 2 can put 10,000 to flight. So I just say, keep praying, keep proclaiming your faith, because ultimately, maybe not under this administration, but hopefully soon, the Christians will be able to be recognized in their own light as living based on love.
Harris?
Yeah, it is the greatest loss of freedom for all of us who have faith, to lose our values. And the way that you put it, people have freedom of conscience. If we lose our values, if we lose the conscience, that part of us that makes us the best versions of who we are as people on this planet, the whole world will suffer. We are still the beacon of light. We are still the greatest place on earth here in America. We cannot lose. Believe how you want. Don't step on my right to do that. Don't tell me what not to believe. Don't tell me what love is. And by the way, my mom, long-term social worker, she said, if someone has love in their heart, especially a 9-year-old, someone who's been in the foster care with all of the problems that we have across this country in foster care, some beautiful people in it, and some problems along the way too, just like everything else in life. If someone shows that they can love another, why would you deny? And you're not doing that to the LGBT community. I mean, we have a Secretary of Transportation who just adopted with his husband, right? So we will say yes to some and no to others, and all of it is what they believe and how they live. How can we in good conscience then call ourselves the Republic, the beacon of light? We should be ashamed.
Amen. Every child deserves a loving home, and that should be priority number 1.